thanks everybody for all coming here, and I'll get a quote from Teresi, and also a bit of introductory comments about what I've learned. We were able to weave the basket of knowledge today. As we go towards the last session, this has been the journey we've done today, and it's been enlightening and also insightful. So some introductory remarks that I'll start off with is, I like ABC, which is access, build, and collaborate. I like the 3 C's, community, collaboration, and care. And I like the way forward. And this is thanks to setting the scene, which will be what I'll do today. Know the community, encourage others to be part of the community. So my presentation will be basically shared in half. Half of it will be me talking, and I come from oral traditions, so half of it will be the indigenous perspective of touch, feel, hear, storytelling, songs. So I've put together a presentation that I hope it keeps everybody alive and energized for the afternoon. All right, so coming to my presentation, I'm a practitioner, so I'll be practical. I'm not a theorist. You heard I transformed from an engineer to social science to arts. So I am more of a practical person, and I feel things, and I see things, and I touch things, and they work. And I totally am inspired, Teresi, for your opening remarks in the keynote. So I'll be talking about curatorial and archival collaborative projects, because my topic is working with collections and how you collaborate. So I'm not going to go in depth into the collections, but I'm going to how you build bridges, how you connect communities to institutions, researchers. So my work will be based on the Chau Chak Wing Museum, which I've been privileged to have work with Jude and Rebecca on the projects which I will share. It will be based on my experiences, so it's personal, and it's about the highlights in my role as a co-curator and a podcast co-producer, because I have a podcast that I will share later on, and as a cultural researcher. So that's where I'm connecting academia, museums, archives as a researcher, and can be cultural objects, photography, digital objects, about the art, environment, history, culture, language, music, with connections to contemporary spaces and to speaker communities. So the collaboration in partnerships with organizations, I work with the PARADISEC, which is the Pacific and Regional Archives for Digital Sources. It's a digital archive in endangered cultures. And I work with community, indigenous speaker communities, cultural groups, Oceania institutions, working with collections. So the 2 exhibitions that I work with Jude at the Chau Chak, I'll share that. And also 2 projects, one's an international collaboration, and the other is podcast production. Drawing from collections, and how you can connect physical archive, museums to sound archives like PARADISEC, where I work, and the British Library, which is one of my projects that I did. So I said half of my presentation will be talking, half of it will be listening and viewing what you are about to see in my presentation. So there you are, Chau Chak. It's the Pacific Themes exhibition, and the Tidal King, which will be ending. I was a co-curator also for that. And there's a bit of a description on each one of them. Pacific Views is more about the historic photography, and we've been able to bring to life all these landscape images to songs, voices, and poetry of Pacific peoples. Tidal King, now you'll have a full tour tomorrow with Jude, and that's 8 Pacific Islanders who visited in the 18th and 19th centuries. And one of them was a speciality from my island, New Britain Island, in Papua New Guinea. So that had a strong relevance and significance to my participation in the project. Then True Echoes. This is a British Library-led project, and it's reconnecting indigenous communities with historic audio recordings from the late 1800s to early 1900s. Then Toksave Culture Talks, for you Melanesians out here, it's going to be a Pacific name now. It's telling out, sharing knowledge to people, Culture Talks. And that's the podcast that I am a co-producer of. So that's just basically the outline of what I'm going to talk you through. So Pacific Views, for those who didn't have the chance to see it, it was a combination of photography, sounds, and poetry. And they were historical photographs from the Macleay collection. And the images are natural environment, ecosystems, how art, you're nurturing this whole landscape of the environment, to seascapes, to skyscapes, to soundscapes, making it alive rather than just looking at the photograph as an object or just an image. So Pacific Islander Voices, we were able to connect contemporary culture, histories through the poetry and oration, resonating the voices and songs of Pacific peoples. And I'll share a bit of that as I go. I'm putting some websites, but that's basically just for reference purposes. So the exhibition, there's 7,200 images out there in the clay collections that we sourced and drawn our photographs from. Stunning photography across Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. And the images are there to reveal the fragile, flourishing and diverse ecosystems nurtured by Pacific Islanders during the time of colonization. So you can see that timeline there, it was at the time of colonization, but capturing those moments, linking them to contemporary culture. I will share this permission from the Chau Chak. These are some of the photography in the exhibition. So you can see it's all black and white, but there's touches of red there, which is volcanic. That's Hawaii, basically. And I come from a volcanic ring of fire area, so I put one of mine in there, and I think that was also part of it. So you can see the range. I'm just going to put that up for you guys to embrace the photography that is available in this museum. So that was part of the exhibition that we did. So I'm just showing what we worked together on, and I've been able to collect that. The next is the sounds and songs. Working for a sound archive, PARADISEC, we actually partnered with the museum as a collaboration. So working with collections here in the museum, connecting to some archive collections, in which I will have to go through and play the sounds so that you know what we're talking about in sounds. Then later on we'll work on voices in my podcast. So that, for those of you who are not familiar with Pacific Regional Archive or digital sources, PARADISEC, it's where I work. I work part-time, but that's basically a bit of a flag for what we do out there. And the Pacific Views Partnership, that's basically just telling a little bit more about what we're doing. So, for me, music is the central heart of Pacific cultures. It's about society and environment. And the selected songs that I'll play you will basically connect those photographs that I showed you with the songs that we actually used for the exhibition. So, let the music play and do the talking. I'll relax and I'll just walk through the songs and enjoy your journey across the Pacific. First one is there, and I will relax, step back. Descriptions of the songs are there, collectors, dates, what it's all about. So this happens. that's the songs from PARADISEC as part of the Pacific Games. Now we get into poetry, the poets, and it's connecting those photographs with contemporary voices, songs, and written poetry. So with the audio, oration, and it resonates to this exhibition where we are connecting contemporary cultures to the histories captured in these photographs. I'll just put that on the screen. That is the opening, the actual entrance to the Pacific Views exhibition was one that is stunning because it's Oceania. This is who we are. And I won't read it through, but just glance over that poetry. It's beautiful and it's very representative of the Pacific and Oceania region, the people, the balance of environment, how we sustain it, the respect, the interconnection with ancestors. It's all there, sharing our homes with stories, poems, chants, songs, and stories. This is the second one. I've selected that because I just thought I got a close affinity and relationship with this poet, Apisayanos. And just go through that. This is what people were thinking in the 70s. Like, I see that we've developed ourselves in the literature, that we've kind of grown from there. Now, Apisayanos happens to be my maternal uncle, and he's the chief of my clan. And I was amazed that I've drawn my strength actually from him to be part of working in this space now. I am an electrical engineer, so I was also out in the fields doing work. I thought this is now time to reconnect with our people and our culture. And I was inspired by my uncle to come to university space and work in museums. I'll play a bit of a clip on Pacific Voices. We had a symposium here, and that's my uncle. He's 80 years old, and I just thought I'll share that with everybody, that he wrote a paper that I presented on his behalf, so reflects his thoughts and views about the environment, art, collections that we have in culture.
My name is Apisayanos. I am a retired public servant, educationist, writer, and a poet. The topic of my paper is a voice from Papua New Guinea on the functions of literature, music, and the environment in the traditional and contemporary life of Papua New Guineans. Ocean, I want to finish off by reading a little poem I wrote in 1972. A bird sings not because he has a reason, nor because he knows why, but because he has a song. Thank you for listening.
Moving on, the next exhibition I was involved with is Tidal, which is to be closed tomorrow. So thanks for the opportunity, Jude and the team here, that I was part of that. I won't go too much detail because you're going to have a full tour tomorrow, but those are the highlights taken from the website so that you guys just learn about what Tidal is about. But my particular experience that I want to draw from this exhibition is one of the 8 Pacific Islander travelers that came to Sydney happens to be from New Britain, from Western New Britain, so on the same island, but on the other side of the island. And the name is Gary. The name is debatable, but the story is clear and confirmed. So, before I go to talking about Gary, I'll just share with you the objects that we took out of the collection here to represent the story of Gary, West New Britain in the exhibition. So these are the objects from Tolai Museum. There's a club, there's a shield, there's a back cloth, there's a paddle, there's a conch shell, there's a cowrie necklace, shell money is for wealth, and pearls. A bit of explanation on that later. That is the trade that was happening on the islands of metal trade. So it could be an axe or a garden tool. So that was part of the collection that I thought Gary came over, and just to show you where they are in the collections here, I just sort of show that. So the pearls, the shield, the clubs, just to give you an idea. You will notice New Ireland there. We are in a Bismarck Sea, so the movements of our people were getting objects from place to place. So that's basically New Britain, New Ireland. I don't know, we got Britain there in Ireland, and we got New Britain, we got New Ireland. So that's colonization for us. So in summary, that's basically what Gary came down here for. Crafting the story, I had to deal with a descendant of Gary, and it happens to be Alfred Maladisa, who unfortunately could not be here. I did ask him, but he's got postgraduate studies at UNSW, and he connected to the parents of COVID. That's where the location is. They are traditional historians and advisors, John and Marie. They were strong seafarers, strong skills in trading. They were exposed to a lot of explorers and whalers and traders that go past our islands. And that's how they built up their trading skills. And he came to Sydney really for getting a bit more insight about trading on the permission of the chief, which is the father, that they encountered the whalers and said, we want to learn a bit more about this white man trade and wealth. And he came for that reason, so he was here for 3 weeks. Jude will probably go through the exhibition and talk more about that. So there were violent encounters, as you would imagine and expect, but later there was acceptance because the trading was happening. So local foods and fruits, artifacts, and then the exchanges of axes, knives, and garden tools. So that's just basically a snapshot of what Gary was about, that I was involved in directly with the descendant of Gary. Just to put you in a picture, that is New Britain Island on the western part, and if you see the map on the top right left there, that's where West New Britain is into Papua New Guinea, the mainland. And you'll see on the top left are the group of islands. Now that's where the whalers were coming through. And the story, Uneapa and the Balivitu Islands, down to you see Kove there, that's the language speaking groups that the trading was happening between the island people and the mainland of the big island, and even going across west to the New Guinea mainland. So that's just to give you a courtesy of this island. That's a language map just to show there's Kove, and that's where the language speaking people Gary originate from, and the island up north. So based on the text narrative that we worked on and the objects narrative of Tidal King, the story of Gary has been a very interesting outcome, a lot of variations that we picked up, but nonetheless, the Western recorded versions to the Indigenous recollections, we tried to kind of balance it out, but the overall message is clear that the story was confirmed. Lastly, I will just share the voice of Alfred's mother, Anne-Marie, that recounts the ancestor story narrated from an Indigenous perspective. And it's a little bit language, but that's the spirit of Tidal King, is to connect the voices and the descendants of our forebears and ancestors who came through to Sydney. Okay, my next project is the True Echoes, and that's PARADISEC where I work. This project is about reconnecting cultures in Oceania with recordings from the beginning of time. Some of you might know with a bit of background on music, they were music digitized from wax cylinders. And that was a project that the British Library led. And those digitized versions of those recordings were basically reproduced and sent to institutions that worked on the project, which I'll share in the next slide. And just believe that sharing the documentation and knowledge was quite important for the region, Oceania region. So the project was funded by Enliven Trust, and that's in the UK, led by the British Library and partnered with PARADISEC, my organization, the Institute of Public Studies, Vanuatu Cultural Center, Solomon Islands National Museum, IHCs in Canberra, New Caledonia, Tidal, and the British Museum and Cambridge Museum. So that was, and I acknowledge my the project co-investigator, which is Amanda Harris, my manager. So that's just to go through what the project was all about. The recordings were there, we listened to them. Our role in PARADISEC was to coordinate the Pacific or the Melanesian institutions. We were in a better position with UK to deal with that. So I was basically the go-between the organization. And besides, I can speak Melanesian pidgin, so I was talking to everybody in a common language. There's somebody familiar here. Part of the case study was on Hula region, which is in the central province, the southern part of Papua New Guinea. The man is dressed in Motun attire, costume, but he happens to be from the other side, but that's part of what we're trying to draw culture together. And the other two is a couple, Roge and Gulia Kila. They're from Hula. And I'll show a little bit later on how we can share the songs and collecting the history of those recordings there. So for me, collaboration of the Papua New Guinean diaspora in Australia, Sydney, Canberra, is basically having some meaningful reflections on the significance of these old songs and the relationships to musical practices today. So diaspora community members became research participants rather than us trying to be researchers, trying to work out. We hear from the participants themselves, and they happen to be descendants too. So my target audience is always descendants, so that they can align and appreciate what our ancestors were, in our lives that we are today. So they are stuck in colonial archives, but my motivation for collaboration is to reconnect these recordings from where they came from. So that's case studies there. This is a bit of like write-ups, but I think the message is there. Just like go through everything, but it's many meanings to songs and words. It's about intergenerational knowledge of these recordings that are in histories of archives. So we are preserving, we are revitalizing language, we are revitalizing music that otherwise would be lost. So it's contemporary relevance and cultural continuity is the outcome. So I'll play you the next songs, which is a clip of a song called Leku Leku. It's a ballad across the southeastern coast. Leku Leku is a song genre that, and Deveni will also attest to this. He comes from that region where they kind of have this song practice. So it's talking about events, a person, and in this case it's a historical event about a warrior that who was lost in a battle. those are just for references on dialects and places. Waipo, and there you are. That's Leku Leku. And what we've done is reenacted this old song that was recorded in 1904. 1904. And Roge and Gulia reenacted that based on the connection. So they relived that music. That's a case study that I used the international project of the True Echoes. So their recordings 100 years ago, 120 odd years in colonial archives. But you can hear this is 2020 reviving. So see the connection from historical to so in PARADISEC we've got a podcast series that I am a co-producer called Toksave Culture Talks, and 2 of those episodes are part of my work in connecting in diaspora communities with the archives. I've got a bit of a flow chart there that I use, and that is about community collaboration and what cultural exchange. You see the top diagram there is more of the static one-way traffic that when I came into PARADISEC. So I questioned myself that, is anybody in the speaker community able to hear these things? And I was working in an archive, so we turned it around. You'll see that there is a speaker community member that is me inside the archive. So it's like an insider-outsider relationship with researchers and the archives. So we've done this loop, and one of the outcomes of the loop is podcast, metadata enrichment. A lot of these collections didn't have much information, and the cultural knowledge, traditional knowledge, you actually add value and improve and enrich the archives with information. People can still go on to get new publications, conferences, get their degrees. This is as usual, but I think what's important for me is community collaboration. This is really shared the 3 C's. That's really the 3 C's. In diagram, it's a form that I have to put in flowchart because I'm an engineer. I reason out with diagrams and writing, so that's me. Last but not least is the Toksave Culture Talk part of the podcast, and that's basically co-producing it with Jody Kell, one of my colleagues there. And I'll just basically go straight into that. We've covered most of Oceania already. We're into the 15th episode. We're doing the 16th on Solomon Islands again. So the spread is connecting the archive with speaker communities through diaspora. So we are not going to originating community. We say, guys, these things are sitting here. Why don't you connect? And they gladly engage. So see the spread. Right on the top there is me and the researcher that 30 years ago did a research and hasn't shared anything with anybody. And all the people he interviewed are all gone. I said, what have you left with the descendants? Tell these things back. So I'll just give you an example. So Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomons, and Indigenous Australia is also represented. But I'll just go through that quickly. Prioritizing, you okay with time?
No, and we need to get the thick.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So these are, if you may be
nowadays we listen to radio,
okay, I'm just selecting.
and we wake up to radio being in a plate in the morning.
Might not be the same practices.
That's right. All right. Coming to Teresa's comment about the basket and weaving, hear and listen to the Vanuatu John Oba.
For me, I'm looking to weave a basket that would hold water for our understanding. Because we look forward to hearing somebody telling stories. They call them Metesau, the storyteller, as a wise man. And when he stands up to tell a story, it brings that excitement, the motivation, and everybody's looking for what is he going to say next. You hold on to every word that's been spoken.
That is the cry of a mother just lost a child or baby and saying, I have, as the waves crashes, the white foam I see. I can't help myself, but I have to pick up the flowers and put it in my arms and sway with the waves. I want to come and flow with you.
Mr. Samo, I think in the interest of time, I'll probably just go through.
Okay, maybe.
Sorry. There's this relationships, building relationships is part of the thing. And it's interesting. I think you need to see this because.
My name is Salote Temu. I'm the daughter of Marianne Deveni Temu. I'm from Central Province in Papua New Guinea, from the Kapari Uriolo village along the coast. And I've lived in Canberra since I was a toddler, so I speak English. However, I believe the younger generation below me and my generation are finding it, especially in Australia, are finding it difficult to keep these songs and dances alive. So that is why I come here, to make sure that these songs and dances pass down from my generation to the next.
That's just some of the shots to end my presentation. Dr. Wendy is a colleague and also research participant on my projects, and that was taken in Canberra last year. Just a snapshot of random shots of my podcast connecting communities, researchers, and thank you very much.